You can't do it. You can try a lot of things to get people engaged. Are you taping me, sir?
What's that?
No.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I wouldn't say anything here. I wouldn't say anywhere else. You can't legislate against ignorance. You really can't. You can try to get people engaged. You can try to inform the public as much as possible, but it's difficult when you get down to the down ballot races, such as for judge or state board of education, which shouldn't exist. And so it's tough, right? And the ballot questions are a real problem. Are a real problem because a lot of them are fairly arcane issues that either shouldn't be on the ballot or are on the ballot, and people will never understand them even if they read the explanation. But you can't outlaw ballot questions. There has to be a provision in the law for ballot questions to fix current laws, to seek redress against the legislature for things that they don't address. Again, you can't prevent it. Now listen, this year's ballot doesn't have that many ballot questions. If you looked at your sample ballot, I'm sure as many of you members of the League of Women Voters, of course you have. There aren't as many ballot questions as usual. And there aren't as many really crazy, strange ones as usual. So it's not as much of a problem this year as it has been, and we're certainly not California yet, where everything is on the ballot and where they change essentially the way the state operates through ballot initiative, which is terrible, to the extent where when the legislature meets, 80% of the California budget is not within their reach anymore because it's been encumbered by ballot questions. But, groups like, shameless plug for you guys, the League of Women Voters, other groups who do try to inform the public, you can only do so much, right, if people want to be willfully ignorant. Unfortunately, that's going on more and more, and I worry about it less with people who are not going to know how to vote on changing the sales and use tax jurisdiction of the legislature than who they're going to vote for in Department 28 or 29 for judge. Right? That's the problem.
Well, talk about that. Why do we have this thing about the tax?
Yeah, I was looking at that.
It has to do with, and I wouldn't even say that I have encyclopedic knowledge of it. My eyes glazed over the same way as yours did. But it has to do with the legislature having more power to make certain changes that the federal government now prevents them from doing. It makes sense to me, reading and doing a little bit of research on it. But my guess is that thing will fail by about 70% because people will just vote no when they see the word tax. And they'll just vote no, even though it seems to be a logical legislative change. Yes, ma'am.
Appellate court.
Yeah, the intermediate appellate court. Yeah. Listen, I've heard the arguments for and against that. If you listen to people talk about the burden that is on a lot of the courts here in this state, it makes sense to me. The only argument against it to me is the cost. And I think the cost is worth bearing because I think it will streamline the process. I think it will stop what has been a clogged system for some time. And some very smart people I respect are for it, and I think it's a good idea. Go ahead.
Election judges directly, number one.
This is an easy one for me. I don't think judges should be elected. I never have. I think that some kind of modified Missouri plan should exist in this state, as it does in many other states. You've probably seen the new commercial that former Justice of the Supreme Court Sandra Day O'Connor has on the air now. She's doing this all over the country in states where this is an issue. I had her on my program. She makes a lot of sense about it. I understand the arguments against it. Then it becomes a good old boy system where it's much more difficult to get people into office. But so many people will vote for all of the judges on the ballot, and those of you running for judge know that, based on nothing more than whether they've seen your name, or they met you in touch, or were a nice person, or in some cases, if you're the female on the ballot, you have an advantage. That's what it shows. And not all women are smarter than men. I know it's generally true. It's generally true. But that it is shown there too. So I just think that judges should be vetted through a different system. I'm not even sure that the system that is on the ballot here is the best one, by the way. It's 2 years you have to run for retention and get 55%. You could still have a group of people, and you could even make it easier, a group of people who don't like the decisions you've made as a judge, stop you from getting retained. And I'm a little bit concerned about that part of it, but I do not believe in direct election of judges. Yes, sir. The guy taping me.
How many nations around the world do you know that elects judges?
Nations around the world? That I don't know, but I know that most don't. I don't know the number, but most don't. Oh, he knew the answer and was asking me, was it a test?
Ding, ding, ding.
Yes, ma'am.
Why can't we know the questions that are used to vet these judges up front? Why can't the judges be responsible for answering these questions in their bio or in their?
Which questions are you referring to, ma'am?
No, I don't know, Sam, this group, this group is going to choose judges that they're going to present as being eligible.
The question is, if there were an appointed body, a judicial selection commission that vetted these candidates before they went to the governor, could we know the questions that they're asking? I'm sure you could. I'm sure you could. That's very easy to get those. But I don't think it's that simple either. And I think there should be a fairly rigorous interview process, and it's not a cookie cutter kind of thing where everyone should be asked the same questions. Listen. It's the same thing. I mean, when the retention election were to come about, you have a duty to be informed. It doesn't mean you're going to follow it, but you have an obligation to do so. Sam, do your job, for God's sake.
I am. I bother people. I do it well.
What do you think about this advisory question for Clark County?
Are you talking about the home rule question?
Yeah.
I think that home rule in this state is long overdue for a couple of reasons. First of all, I am sick and tired of the legislature essentially pointing at local governments and saying we control you, you're creatures of the legislature, and if we can tell you not just what to do, but if we need to balance our budget, we'll steal your money. And on the other hand, I'm sick of local governments whining about the state doing all kinds of things to them that they shouldn't be able to do. So give them the responsibility. Let's see what they do with it. So I think it's just long overdue, because I think local government officials are handcuffed by not having it, and I think it's good both ways. Naomi.
Let me ring the mic.
Hang on, wait till she gets there with the mic.
Well, I was looking at the question 5, and I was going along with it just fine until they got to the comma, which says, or impose fees or mandate new and different services be performed by local government. That didn't sound so hot.
Where are you looking now, Naomi? I'm sorry.
On question 5.
No, I know which question you're on, yeah.
And after the comma in the last sentence.
After the comma on the last sentence.
Or impose fees.
Well, but why not?
Well, I don't quite understand what that says.
Well, it's essentially part of the entire question is to allow them to raise revenues in ways that they're now prohibited from doing by the legislature. And you know what? They should wear it. If you don't think that they're doing the right thing, if you don't think they should be raising those fees for whatever purpose they say, they're the ones who should be accountable, not the legislature and nobody else. And if they need more money for X purpose, let them raise it. Or let them go to the people and say, this is why we're doing it. I just think that they deserve to get the blame and to take responsibility and to get the credit if they do something.
John, what would that do with the tax structure?
Well, it depends how it's done, of course.
Yeah.
But if we're going to talk about the tax structure, that's a different discussion. It'll take all day.
Well, just a question. There is an impact to that, correct?
Of course, there's an impact to everything. You can't take one part and you put it here and not have an impact. But the legislature needs to act to fix the tax structure.
And my question isn't on the ballot questions. Do you think this next legislative session there will be a push to expand the legislature to dilute the Southern influence?
Yes.
Wow.
There will be.
And what do you think of that?
Well, I think that the North and rural Nevada's gotten away with murder for years, and to Southern Nevada's detriment. And I think that Southern Nevadans should fight against that in the legislature. I think they should stick together, and if they did, they would have no chance. But that doesn't always happen. And think about what's going to be going on in the legislature. You're going to have all the budget problems. You're going to have reapportionment and redistricting, and you're going to have this as a key element of the entire horse trading that goes on. So will it be sacrificed to try to get a budget plan, a redistricting plan, a reapportionment plan through. I don't think it should be. I don't think we need more legislators just to help out our friends in northern and rural Nevada. But we will not know that until the end of the probably third or fourth special session.
What do you think about annual sessions?
I'm on the record as saying annual sessions are long overdue, at the very least for budget purposes in the even numbered years.
Why do you want to get rid of the State Board of Education?
That's a good question.
There's no need for a state board of education. I mean, it makes no sense to me. You don't need an elected board at the state level to oversee education. It makes no sense. Even though some of the best people I know could be on the state board of education.
Hold on. I beg to differ.
I think the problem in this state with our State Board of Education is that the legislature has taken away every ounce of power that they once had to do their job. And as long as
What's their job, Carolyn?
Well, their job is to license teachers, to set core standards for the state, and establish.
You don't need an elected board to do those things. Is my contention. I just don't see why you need to elect people. I think you could have very good people at the state level responsible for those functions without having to elect them. I think it's crazy.
I just wanted to comment on question 5 because being president of Nevada League of Cities, we partnered with the Nevada Association of Counties, and this wasn't addressed. But last session, Southern Nevada, there was over $200 million diverted from Southern Nevada to the state budget. So you guys ought to really care about this. It's going to be on all 17 counties' ballot questions. So it's very important because disproportionately it affects the South more than any other jurisdiction.
It's so bad, in fact, that some people in local government can't get done what they need to get done, so they run for statewide office.
Anything else? Which is a good thing.
Which is a good thing.
If you don't approve of the State Board of Education.
Oh, we're not going to keep talking about this, for God's sake.
I have a question. I
Okay.
have one. How would you do it? How would you have a central authority for state education?
Well, first of all, you have to get past the premise of your question that we need a central authority. And I suppose we need a central authority to do some of the functions that Carolyn talked about, to license teachers, to set standards, although I could argue that could be done at the local level. I could argue that maybe standards shouldn't be uniform across all the different places in this state. I could make that argument. Let's have that debate. So I don't know. What I do know is that there's no good argument I've ever heard for having an elected board oversee this. It makes no sense to me whatsoever. You need some certified experts to do this at the state level. If you're going to do it that way, you're not going to get that necessarily through the electoral process. So I just don't see the need for an elected board, even if you get past the premise that you need to have that done at the state level, that you need a centralized authority. It should not be elected.
John, just to add to that, part of the race to the top, the problem with Nevada's failing to get it was that there isn't some more uniformity